morning, everyone. We're talking about the poisoned arrow, and from Lynn's meditation about leaves dropping. These first 4 chapters are all about becoming aware of what you don't need in your life and letting them drop away. So it's like the whole season is helping us to drop away things that we don't need. We started here with the poisoned arrow 2 weeks ago, and when Reverend Lisa was up here on the pulpit, she was saying the metaphor is that we get shot with a poisoned arrow, and even though the arrow is out, it gets pulled out, we're still left with what is called in the book as fear. Fear can come in many disguises. It can be worry, it can be depression, it can be anxiety, and it can be, just downright fear. The physical fear is for our good. Physical fear wants us to be safe. So it isn't that it's bad, it's the unrealistic fear. And I think it was Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. that said, it's like being in a horror movie. You have all these feelings and your body goes through all these things and you get tight and you want to run, and it's an unrealistic fear. It's just a movie, but your body feels all those things. And that's what happens in our life. We can be walking down a sidewalk and see a man in front of us with a long black coat, and all of a sudden we tighten up and want to run. It's like, what is this? What is this unrealistic fear? And this is what this book is helping us do. Become aware of those things that may trigger you or make your body tighten up. It may have been that when we were a youngster, we had a neighbor that always wore a dark black coat, and our friends always said he was a spook, that he was a monster. So that might still be in our personal dream, in our domestication. So fear can be unrealistic, but the emotions and all the physical sensations are real. Chapter 2 was what our groups covered last week. And as the coordinator of the spirit groups, I have to tell you we have over 50 people reading this book this time. And that's not counting the people that aren't in the groups. So this has been a really good book for this season. That's the most I remember signing up for groups. But the first step is awareness. The one thing he talks about in the book is stalking your mind. The hardest part for me when I start thinking about what am I thinking about, I have to be in a pretty quiet space. A lot of times during meditation, it's looking at what thoughts arise, not paying attention to them, but later on, you might want to write down, what thoughts am I thinking about? Sometimes you could be reading something and all of a sudden you're off somewhere. And it's like, wait a minute, how did all those thoughts come into my mind? It just makes you think you're crazy when you start thinking about all the things you're thinking about. So it's bringing stalking the mind and thinking about what's going on. If you're worrying, he said the one thing we can do with worry is write down the facts and then what you're thinking about it. Because many times the facts are just that I'm going to speak on Sunday. It's not that I'm going to make a fool of myself and do all these things. So I went through that. We always go to the worst case scenarios, and especially those in anxiety. That's what Ruiz said, his wife Susan said, that anxiety is finding the worst case scenario for everything you're doing. The other way that we can become aware of what our mind is thinking is to scan our body. Where do you hold tenseness? Where do you hold that tightness? Even this morning, it's a little in my throat because I can feel the nervousness. But a lot of us, it'll be in our gut. You'll be doing your daily chores and something will come up. Maybe you hear a song or see something and your gut just clenches. These are the times to become aware of what is that all about. Reverend Lisa talks a lot about being curious. This is what we're doing. We're not trying to fix it, at least not yet. But we're being curious about what triggered that. What am I thinking about that made me feel that way? Or what did I see? Or what did I hear? The other thing that might help us become aware of our mind and what we're thinking is the words we use, especially when it comes out, I should do this. It's like, who told you that? Is it really true that you should? I would. If you're talking about judgments, blaming, that might be another way to think of where's my mind going on this and what have I got in my baggage that is making me blame and making me judge these people. Sometimes it's just a trigger in an instant. You hear something, you see a car on the road that reminds you of an old boyfriend, and all of a sudden you're off on this tangent of everything that happened and whose fault it was you broke up, So those things happen too. So that's the big thing about knowing that you do have fear within you. It's just part of all of us. And then starting to become aware of where it's showing up. That brings us to weeks 3 and 4, which is the weeks we are talking about this week in our groups. Chapter 3 is about our personal dreams, and that every one of us is living in our own personal dream. I want to read to you how he describes that, and it's on page 67. Every one of us has a personal dream, a filter through which we screen the raw experiences of reality. This filter is made up of our own past experiences and related projections, speculations, fears, and biases. Of course, our personal dream is also colored by our domestications, our desires, our values, and our beliefs. No matter where we go or what we do, we see life through the lens of our personal dream, and this has a profound effect on how we experience our day-to-day life. It's like we all make chicken soup. We all have our own chicken noodle soup. That's what our life is. It's chicken noodle soup. But you're a vegetarian, so you don't have chicken in yours. And you use gluten-free noodles, and you use more salt, and you put a little ginger in yours. It's all soup, but every one of us is a little bit different. And our beliefs are different, and we carry our beliefs with us. Wayne Dyer tells a story about sitting on a park bench, and a man comes up to him, and he says, I'm moving to your town. Tell me what the people are like. And Wayne Dyer asks, what were the people like where you're coming from? And he says, we're going to miss them so much. We had the best neighborhood. We had a picnic every summer with our block. The kids were always safe. It was a great neighborhood, great people. And Wayne Dyer says, that's what you're going to find here. Another man came up and he asked the same question, said the same question. We're moving to town. What are the people like? And Wayne says, what were the people like where you were from? And he says, we hated our neighbors. They complained every day about our tree hanging over in their lawn. They never mowed their lawn as much as we thought they should. A lot of them didn't even talk to us. They kept moving in and out. And Wayne looked at him and he says, you'll find those people here. Our beliefs color everything that we think of in our life. So we each have our personal dream that affects how we think and what we feel. He did talk in that about domestication. Domestication is how you were raised. I was raised in a small town and went to school with the same kids, all 12 years. And it's like, oh, we all have the same beliefs. Well, we don't, but that group carries a lot of similarities in what we believe and what we learned you should do with every circumstance, how you should act. So yeah, our personal beliefs and our domestication make a big difference. And they can show us places where those beliefs are just not fulfilling to you, no longer adequate for living your life. I mean, I live thinking I shouldn't be with Catholics. Catholics were bad. I was Lutheran. They worshipped Mary. It was bad. So that belief went away when I got to college and got to meet more people and knew that Catholics were no different than anybody else. There is also a dream of the planet. A lot of times we call this collective consciousness. But the dream of the planet right now is war, chaos, scarcity, natural disasters. But you have to remember it's also kindness, and it's people helping each other. Hearing from Alice about all these people doing good things. I'm going to take the microphone, Leah. Hearing today about all these people doing good things and serving meals and having more, the food pantries asking for more. And I know I've watched the news and saw people lined up, for the food banks and for the free food, and it just breaks my heart. But there are people helping. That's what Fred Rogers said. At any time of crisis, look for the helpers. Look for the helpers. So, in that collective consciousness also is generational beliefs, generational things that happened. I think of the Native Americans. That's in our planet consciousness. I think of slavery, what they all went through is in our planetary consciousness. So all those make up our dream of the planet, but that affects our dream too. So sometimes when you're looking at, why do I feel this way? It's like, maybe you got hit with something about slavery. Maybe you got hit with a generational thing clear back in the consciousness of the planet. So I feel kind of bad because all these first 4 chapters are about how to find where the fear is, what's bothering you. I'm glad to tell you that next week it's about love and transforming all this, but we haven't got there yet. The last chapter that he talks about is our desires. Desires in themselves are not bad. I want to read to you what he said. The things we desire can be useful and productive and can be a creative force when we relate to it appropriately. Indeed, we believe it was the desire of the Toltec people to experience all the different flavors and colors of life that created the whole world. In other words, the life force is desire, the desire to taste, touch, see, hear, experience, and manifest in many forms. Chances are you've experienced how easily the desire for something can shift into fear of not getting it. Desire that he talks about is desire to keep up, desire to have security and safety with enough food, with enough money to pay your bills. We all have that desire. And what that desire does is make us creative. it's the process of reaching those goals. We get to be creative as how we're going to do this and how we can make the meals last. And it's a creative process. In that way, desire is not bad at all. When desire becomes to where you're attached to the goal, it can be a real problem, where you have to have it or you won't be happy. If I don't have this situation turn out the way I want, I'll never be happy. If I don't have this man marry me, I'll never be happy. If I don't get this job, I'll never be happy. It's those kind of attachments that can make us feel bad. There's also the fear of you're attached, you don't mean to be, but you're attached to a job you hate. Because if you leave that job, you may not find another one. It's a strange thing that attaches us to our jobs, the people that we live with. And it's important to know that those kind of attachments are not good for our soul, and they don't keep us going. The Bhagavad Gita, I can never say that, says it's not what you own, it's what owns you that's the problem. I think of that with my sister who wanted a swimming pool in their backyard, and they built this great big pool, and then they had to stay home all summer and take care of it and make sure the pH was okay and put the cover on and make sure it was clean and they had it heated, and they had somebody come in and help test it and all this stuff. And it's like, do you own the pool or does that pool own you? So that's some ways to look at the things that you desire and the things that you have. What if you had no desire? I want to tell you what he said about that too. You can have no desire. There's a common misconception that spiritual teachers, enlightened masters, have rid themselves of all desire. Catholic priests don't marry. Some Buddhist monks don't eat meat or drink alcohol. Hindu ascetics may give up basic comfort like shoes or clothing. One might assume that having transcended all personal desire, they enjoy lives of blissful simplicity, devoted to serving others and worshiping God. While this may be true in some cases, far from being free of desires, they're no longer controlled or defined by them. So, and pure desire is he says on page 95, pure desire doesn't attach to outcomes. It simply creates, like a vine being drawn toward the sun. So I want you maybe this week to look at where your mind goes, what you're thinking about, how your body tenses up sometimes and what that means, what your beliefs were growing up and maybe if they're still serving you, and then your desires, where you are and where you should be, and the things that you are getting attached to, and do you control them or do they control you? Next week, we'll be talking about love and transformation. And now I would like you to join me in prayer. Infinite Spirit, we are so grateful for the falling away of things we don't need. We are so grateful to be here together, to hear words of truth, and to see that we are all working to become the best that we can be without the fear that has been left by poison arrows that we've been hit with all our life. We are grateful for all that we can learn and for all that we see in each other to react to the most common fear, which is that we are alone or that we're not good enough. May we see the God in every one of us today, and may we know that we are blessed beyond measure. And so it is. Thank you.